All right, so today I'm sitting down here with a very special guest whom I'm sure you all are familiar with. But, Gavin, something just doesn't feel right.
No, vibes are off. We got to...
Vibes are completely
ready?
off.
3,
Yep.
2, 1. Ah, that feels more right.
It feels so much better.
Yeah, this hat really brings it all together.
I just really, I just feel more myself, to be honest, Gavin.
A little mutated, maybe?
A little mutated, feeling a little radiated,
Well, I got all of my sapling buddies, so it's going to be great.
It's going to be great. So, Gavin, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about you?
Hey, everybody. So my name is Gavin Verhey. I'm a principal game designer on Magic the Gathering. So I design what a lot of those wacky cardboard rectangles do. Although I did not make Mothman or Shrufus, so I guess I'm useless here.
We still love you over here. You made one of my other favorite cards, Eureka
yes,
and Ninjutsu.
Which I regret, but I'm glad it's one of your favorites. The commander, the card design fun. The commander Ninjutsu never resetting the command tax. That was a mistake.
It's fine. It's fine. We love it. We love it.
You can let us know in the comments if you like Eureka or not. So.
Everyone likes busted cards. Like, as much as people complain, you guys love it.
That is a really fun thing about designing Magic, right? So whenever I make a mistake, make a card that's too strong, the problem is people love strong cards. So like, even though it's a mistake from my perspective, a lot of people love these cards. Like they love Eureka and Edgar and Paradox Engine and whatever. Like all these cards I've made that are way too strong. And so it's kind of this funny paradox, as it were, of like, oh, well, it is too strong and I shouldn't have made it, but I'm glad people are enjoying Najila or whatever card.
Exactly.
But yeah, don't do that, Gavin. Don't do it.
Stop it.
Yeah,
Stop it right now.
I'm trying my best.
So can you tell everybody that doesn't know, what does a game designer do, especially for Magic?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So, we come out with all these sets, and we have a huge team of people. I want to be clear, it's not just like me and Mark Rosewater in a garage making Magic sets, right? There's a ton of people. But I work on the design of them. I've lead design to all kinds of sets, and usually the way it works is you go to lead design a set, and you have a team of about 4, maybe 5 people, depending on the set. For Commander decks, which of course is I think what a lot of people watching this may have focused on, for 4 decks, we usually have a team of 4 people, and it's actually pretty cool in that each person leads one deck, right? So I'll lead one deck, and the other 3 folks will lead their decks, and then it means that you kind of get like everyone's personal like vibe with the deck, which is why one thing I love about Commander decks is you can kind of tell like there's a bit of personality behind them, and you kind of feel that sometimes when you're playing them. So that's really fun. I'm working on some cool upcoming ones, but ones that I've worked on previously are like Baldur's Gate Commander decks, worked on the Merge of Karlov Manor Commander decks, Commander 2017, so Go Your Dragon, sorry about Edgar, Commander 2018, many others, and then all kinds of mainline sets as well.
That's my favorite thing about Commander as well, is just the personality behind it. You can dress up in these crazy costumes, you can really inhabit the characters.
Well, sort of like when you build a deck, KP, like,
yes.
You put a bit of your personality into it.
Of course.
And so when we build decks, we also put a bit of our personality into it, right? And everyone's got their own pet favorite cards. I think that really shines through when you play. And you're like, oh, why is this card in here? Well, you kind of just feel there's a bit of a soul behind the deck, which I think is really fun.
What is it that you wish the Magic community at large knew about game design?
Well, one thing I already said is just that there's a ton of us, right? Like we really are an amazing team, and there's so many incredibly talented designers and people behind the scenes that make stuff happen. Like I said, it's not just me and Mark. So I always try and like push credit to other people because they do incredible work, and all the way through the process, right? It's not just game design, it's a team of so many people. Everything you see in Magic has to get made by somebody, right? Someone is making the packaging, they're making the card frames, they're editing the text. Like there's so many just unheard of heroes of Magic design. So that's one big one I always like to start with. But the other one that I think maybe a lot of you don't know, and I think is really fascinating, is just how long it takes to make a Magic set, right? Like all the time I'll get people being like, oh, in the next set, can you like tweak this thing? And I'm like, it's done. Like I can't do it. Basically, the rule of thumb is everything a year out is finished. So about a year from right now, all the sets are done. And then we're working, of course, far in advance of that, right? So we're constantly working 3 or even more years ahead on Magic sets. So, I'm working on sets from 2026 and 2027 and 2028. And even we're talking about stuff all the way through the 2030s right now in like early broad strokes. So it's really a long-term plan and a long-term vision. And we work on this stuff super far in advance. One thing that means for the community is if you're asking for something, like we'll hear feedback all the time. I love hearing it. If you're asking for something, if I implement it right now, you won't see it at least for a year. So sometimes when I'm like, hey, I've heard you, want to do this thing, etc., it just takes time. So be patient with us, but if you have a lot of feedback and it's common feedback in the community, we usually do hear it just takes time to implement.
That makes total sense. And in today's world of we want everything right now, we want to scroll to the next video right now. that makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean it's I always feel like I'm in the future, right? I feel like I always forget what year it is. One time I got home and I was cleaning out my fridge, and I'm like, oh, I gotta clean out my fridge, and I'm going through and like I'm just looking through and like all the food's expired. Like, it's just all expired. I'm throwing it all away. I'm like, I've been traveling too much. Gavin, all your food's expired. Throw it all in the bin. And then at the end of it, I realized I just forgot what year it was. And my food was just all actually good. I was just like living, I thought it was whatever, 2024, and it was actually 2023. And I was like, oh man.
You were living in the future already.
Really,
Gavin.
time travel. Magic design is time travel.
That's great. So my favorite set this year was from, well, last year I should say, was from Bloomborough. One of the new mechanics was Offspring. How does the design team go about creating a new mechanic for a set?
Yeah, there's kind of two main ways we'll come up with mechanics. The first way is what we call top-down design. So you're going to Bloomborough, you're looking for like cool mechanics, like what's something that just feels really in the world, or it feels really flavorful. And you'll start with this idea of, oh, well, okay, there's all these animals, there's small ones running around, and little kid versions. Okay, can we make a mechanic that represents that, right? And then you start thinking about how do you do that, and that's how you get to Offspring, which is a really cool mechanic and really fun, and I love it. Also, the fact we got all these like bespoke tokens made for all the creatures.
They're amazing, and they're so cute. I love it so much.
Other times we'll do what's called bottom-up design, where we are building the set, and we're like, the set just is missing something. It's missing like a graveyard mechanic, or a card flow mechanic, or a creature combat mechanic. It's just missing something, and so we'll make something that like, it's not, I mean, we'll put flavor on it so it'll fit in the world, but it's very much like mechanics first, right? And I always think of like cycling as a great example of this. It's like, well, what is cycling in Magic? It's nothing really, like, it doesn't really have any flavor, but it's just good to have around in a set.
Right.
Like, it's helps your games play out a little bit better, helps your cards flow a little bit better. So sometimes we put mechanics like that in a set.
Just to make it more consistent.
Exactly. And sometimes there's a great fusion though. Like I think Morph in Cons of Tarkir is a great example. So in the original Cons of Tarkir, shout out to new Tarkir coming later this year, stay tuned. We wanted to try this mechanic called Morph there, which is an old returning mechanic. Morph is a mechanic you can play it face down for 3 mana and turn it face up later on down the road. It's kind of non-flavored, like there's no real flavor to it, right? It's just like, I don't know, why is this guy face down? But we kind of built in the story like what the little morphs looked like and baked it into the story a little bit, so then it actually could become part of the world. So I think our sets work best when you have that like harmony of design and flavor working together.
Exactly. Love that. And I love that about Bloomborough. What's the next set that you're really excited about personally?
Oh man, well, and there's lots of cool stuff on the horizon, many of which I can't tell you about yet, but coming out this year, I was the lead designer for Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy, which working on for years. Like, it takes a long time, as I said, to make Magic sets. This one's taken a really long time, but I'm so proud of it. And, you know, I have many stories I'll tell as we get closer, but I grew up playing Final Fantasy, and so to get to work on this is really something special. So I can't wait for you to all see it.
That's awesome. Really excited about that. I didn't play a lot of Final Fantasy, to be honest. I played a couple of games on the PlayStation 2, but it's been a long time. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I feel like it's very fantasy, so it'll be perfect. I mean, Final Fantasy, but it'll be perfect for Magic in general.
Yeah,
so
it's an amazing match. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited just thinking about it.
Hopefully it'll bring a lot more new players to the game as well, along with the other Universes Beyond sets. They've brought in a lot of Magic players, as much as Magic players love to complain about Universes Beyond. They have brought in a lot of new players to the game, which I think is super important for the health of the game. So, is there any discussion about bringing back blocks, or are single sets here to stay?
Yeah, so, you know, for a long time in Magic, really starting with Mirage all the way back in 1996, I think, we started this block model where you had like one big set and two small sets, and then you just kind of did that, you know, over and over again for a long time. Then we tried some variations of that, like the single set, like the two set blocks, right? Like Battle for Zendikar and Shadows of Innistrad. We tried that for a little while, and now right now we're in this model of all big sets. It's been working pretty well in a lot of ways. You know, people seem to be enjoying it on the whole. There has been a lot of feedback, I think, about moving too quickly, like across sets, right? We got Bloomborough, and then it was like, all right, well, we don't get, that's it for Bloomborough, right? I think that we were thinking about, okay, how can we space our sets out a little bit? How can we make sure it feels like you get to be immersed in the world longer? Should we be going back to planes faster, right? Like, oh, maybe we do Bloomborough here, and then we do Bloomborough again at some point in the future even faster, because like we want to get back to there sooner. Right now, I think the big sets are, you know, here at least for the moment, at least as far as we've announced. But I can imagine doing some riffs in the future, you know, especially like if you look historically at Ravnica sets, we often like to do a couple of those next to each other. That's a place we could do it. We did 2 Innistrad sets that were big back to back to each other a couple years ago as an experiment. So definitely a possibility to try stuff out. I think one thing about Magic is we're always trying and innovating, right? It's like, all right, we did blocks for a long time, then we did two block sets, now we're out to big sets, and then someday we'll probably do a thing that is a throwback to how blocks worked, right? So kind of all things in time is kind of my motto with Magic. So this is what we're doing right now. It's working pretty well, but stay tuned, you never know.
I like both. to be honest. I think big sets are good, but also the blocks to me were really interesting. My favorite one being Lorwyn. And then I loved, Eventide and then Morningtide right next to each other. It just felt like you were in this world for such a long time and you got to experience the story along with the characters and you got to see how the plane changed.
Seeing that evolution is awesome, right? I think that was one of the big upsides of blocks is you get to see the story progress as you go along. There are some challenges that come with it too.
Yeah.
Both mechanical and flavorful, right? Like one good example is a draft environment, right? Like the way it kind of works is, well, you added one pack of this as you go along, but as it turns out, almost no one preferred the full block. Like the triple big set was everyone's favorite draft environment usually. It's just a lot harder to there's more cards in the draft, which is cool, but it's a lot harder to make your favorite archetype work or something like that.
True.
It also meant that kind of we had to stretch ourselves for ideas pretty thin. I know we were in meetings and it would be like, okay, well, we can't put the cool cards in the first set because we've got to save some stuff for the later sets. Theros always comes to mind, right? Theros, amazing set. I love Theros. Awesome set. And by the time you get to Born in the Gods and especially Journey into Nyx, you're like, woo, you are pulling really thin at some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And Journey into Nyx especially, not to get too in the weeds, but Journey into Nyx especially with the constellation mechanic, we want to do that in the first set, but it was like, well, let's save it for the last set. And in reality, it probably would have been more successful if we just put all the awesome stuff in that first set.
Right.
So there's just some tricky stuff there. And then storytelling wise, it is really cool to be able to see something evolve. As you said, I enjoy that. The flip side of that is if you don't like a world or a set, you're stuck out there for a year, right?
True.
So let's say that we had made Outlaws of Thunder Junction a full year, which is if you love the theme, that's awesome. That's great for you. Wonderful. But if you don't love it, then you're like, I'm just not going to play Magic during this time.
True.
And by rotating through sets, we just have a higher chance you're going to find a hit for somebody. While the tonal dissonance of Bloomborough next to Duskmourn, definitely, I'm not sure if it was good or positive or negative long term. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people enjoyed it. What I will say is it was really cool to be like, hey, if this one's not for you, the next one is almost certainly for you, right?
Right.
And between these two sets, there's something for everybody. And I really like being able to give people these options of oh, I like this, I like this thing, this set's for me, I'm excited about it, and asking people what they're excited about in the sets coming out this year, the 6 sets coming out this year. Everyone has a thing that they're like, oh man, I can't wait for this one. Right. And, those answers are all quite different. So,
as someone trying to get their start making content, what is something that you don't see many or any content creators do that you personally would like to see?
That's a great question because there's so many creators now, right? When I started out, it was not a space like this at all. And now there's so many everywhere and great upcoming ones, And how do you find what to do? And there's this quote I like, and I can't remember who said it. I used to think it was Steve Jobs, but then I looked it up and that wasn't the case. And I couldn't find the quote. Maybe someone just said it to me once. I'm not sure. But it was, you never want to do the last best thing. And I think a lot of people like copying just what they see other people doing. But that creates a glut of the same content, and the problem is you're unless you already have a huge following, the version of it that you do is probably not going to be as big as the versions that are already popular. I always think about what is the thing that you can bring to the table that is uniquely you that other people aren't doing, right? And for me, a lot of my content, for example, is game design focused because there's a lot of Magic creators out there, but few of them can actually talk about the design of a Magic card, right? Basically, none of them can because they weren't there. So it's something that I can do really uniquely. Also started this series recently where I pick a random card every day. I just hit random card and then I just tell a story about it because I've been playing Magic for so long, I know the game so long that I can uniquely kind of do that. I can tell people about cards all off the top of my head. So I think about what is the thing that you can bring that other people aren't doing, right? For example, there's a lot of Commander gameplay content out there, which is great. I love Commander. It's wonderful. But there is so much of it, right?
There's a lot.
Oh, is there one-on-one gameplay content that's interesting? Is there a new format you can make up that's really fun to watch? Is there a kind of skit you can make that is cool? Is there a repeated, I keep waiting for someone to do hot ones with magic, whatever.
Hot ones with magic?
Right, you eat spicier and spicier wings as people try and play. I don't know. I don't have the answer. But do something that is uniquely you and you can make that your own. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff, so it's hard to find the unique thing. But if you can find that, that'll make people keep coming back. That's my opinion anyway. My friend Tim Willoughby, who works on Commander with me and is a longtime Magic guy, he invented a format in the UK called Food Magic. Here's how it works. You each pick a food, okay? Now, I recommend something small. You want to make sure it's small. Grapes is a great answer. Blueberries, something tiny. And the way it works is there's no life points. Whenever you take damage, you have to eat that many of that item. So if I chose grapes and I'm dealt with 10 damage, I have to eat 10 grapes.
Wow.
And the first player to concede loses. So you sit there and attack each other back and forth. And I was like, all right, eat 20 blueberries. All right, eat 10 grapes. Just you see who's going to run out first, right?
Oh, no. That would definitely upset my tummy. I'll have to think about that one. That's a really good idea.
What would you choose?
What would you choose in the comments to eat 1 million of? against someone else. Imagine playing against someone that's like a competitive eater.
Yeah, I mean, choose your opponents wisely, I guess.
Right. As a side question, what is your pizza order?
Was that pizza order? Okay, I'll tell you. So I'm actually part of a pizza club. So every month, I mean, it's not a thing you can join, unfortunately. Although maybe if you ask really nicely and live in Seattle, it's possible. Every month, me and a bunch of friends, we all go out to a new pizza place so we can try it out,
Very
like
nice.
slowly make our way around the city, which is really fun.
Very nice.
And what I've learned through lots of pizza exploration is the most critical thing to me on a pizza. The thing that I'm always like, yeah, this is the best one, is hot honey. It's like totally broken. It's so good. Now, maybe it's not as much for you if you're not a spicy person.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Hot honey.
Hot honey is like the key thing. So I like give me like some pepperoni or whatever, but drizzle that hot honey on it. Like I put a vegetable on there, maybe peppers or something. Pepperoni, hot honey, sign me up. Chef's kiss.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that right there. I was just gonna say pepperoni, but hot honey, you win. You win. That's easily the best answer.
We're in Seattle, we're fancy pizza people, I guess. So
for me, the important thing about pizza is the mouthfeel, is the crispiness of the pizza.
It's not flaccid.
It's gotta be crispy. Can't be flaccid. Not a fan.
We talk a lot about Roni cups. So when you get your pepperoni, like are they curved or are they flat? Right? You want the curvy cup.
I want the curvy kind. I want it crispy. I want it crunchy. I want the little bit of oil in the cup of the pepperoni.
That's what people describe me. It's good to have a brand.
Well, thank you so much, Gavin, for coming and visiting me today and talking with me. We're actually in my house. So thank you for seeing me.
Well, I love talking about magic, so that does help, yeah.
That does help. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. I know I certainly did. Always love talking about magic, especially with someone that makes magic. And you do make magic. Thank you.
I agree. Well, I need some videos to watch. My name's Gavin Verhey, as I guess they probably already know. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Good Morning Magic. I post design stuff up there and all kinds of fun little card shorts, as well as some deeper design dives. So go check it out. There's also, I have this project called that I work on. It's called Magic the Gathering, and it's like this great trading card game. Go play that. Heard of it. Yeah, it's a deck master game. So go check it out.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I think it's time to go, right?
Yeah, right, I think it's time for us to go.
All right, well, with that said, let's get out of here. 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to say thanks again, Gavin, for coming and speaking to me. That was really special, and I do think that as a community, we should be really grateful and thankful we have someone like Gavin that engages so much with the community, visits creators, even very small creators like myself. I think we're very lucky. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was so much fun to make. I hope to make more videos in the future. Please like, comment, and subscribe to stay tuned. Thanks. Bye-bye.